Mheshimiwa, karibu sana. This is Citizen Digital, and thank you for making the time to have this very, very important conversation about the Gen Z protest and the way forward for the country. But I want people who have not interacted with you to actually know who you are and what you're all about. So kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. I'm Njeri Maina, and I'm a millennial because I just turned 30 years old, and I am an ardent advocate of women's rights, human rights, and also a lawyer by profession, admitted to the bar in 2019 and recently admitted as a commissioner for odds. I also love singing. You know, music is my thing when I want to just release some steam. I love to sing. But of course now with politics, you know, I used to love to do karaoke, but it sort of gets a bit constrained. Your social time gets a bit constrained.
And actually a while back you tried music, right?
Oh yeah. I have been a recording artist at Grandpa Records. I mean, I thought that's the thing that's going to propel me. I always knew that I wanted to be on the big stage. And I just didn't know when or how it's going to start. So I thought music was a thing for me. I did music in campus, but I was in law school. So when I dropped my grades, kidogo, my dad told me, hey, you have to go slow on that and fast focus on law school. Yeah.
The Gen Z protest is still going on. It has morphed into what people call something else. We have now the paid goons. We have, it's a bit toxic when it comes to the communication out there. But what are your people telling you? What are the young people telling you today?
First, let me commend the young people of this nation because they called us to order as leaders on governance. They're telling us that the system is no longer working. They're telling us that the system has been broken for so long. And I do believe them because as a young person, I can relate. I have friends that I finished uni with, and they have not yet found any employment opportunities. They've tried to set up businesses. The economic situation is not so helpful with startup businesses. So for us, I think it was about time. And I like the way they started out with very peaceful protests. But unfortunately, we must ask ourselves what next? What do the young people want? Because I have been to countries like South Sudan, and I tell you, we do not want to see that level of anarchy or civil unrest. And what they have morphed to right now is quite unfortunate because now you see paid goons who are now apparently bolstering security, and now there's obviously the protests ongoing. And I feel that maybe there are very many various quarters that have hijacked the protests that are quite peaceful, people with different agenda, because when you say the president must go, you know, this constitution provides for what would happen if the president, you know, maybe resigns, the DP would take over, and in the event that the DP is not able to take over, then the speaker would take over for 60 days before we have another election. So what next? I feel that there's a missing link in communication. So the young people are also telling us that we are not communicating effectively as government, but it has been a simmering issue. And I feel that it just blew out because it was about time. Young people don't have employment opportunities. They're not able to set up businesses. And they're just really quite frustrated by even the way government has been run. And you remember this system was set immediately after independence. So 60 years post-independence, they're telling us this system can no longer work. So I think we have to really also find a way of how to restructure government and address the concerns of young people going forward as a nation.
And you've seen the younger people take a very keen interest on politics and leadership, an indication that they could be a game changer in the oncoming elections. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, the voting patterns in Kenya for so long have been cut along the tribal lines. So 2027 is a different monster altogether. We will see whether the young people will actually first register and then second turn out to vote. Then we will also see, according to the voting patterns, whether they will actually vote along the tribal lines or they will vote as a third force, you know. And we've had voting patterns along tribal lines for so long. So that will still be a factor. People will still vote. Quite a chunk of the generation from X moving upwards will still vote along tribal lines. You know, the status quo, the the way people are used to voting. Then there'll be the third force, that is Gen Z. So I think that could change the traction of the 2027 election. But the factors to be considered are still at play, to see whether they'll actually turn up to vote and whether they'll vote along tribal lines or whether they will vote for. They will have an independent candidate who's sponsored by Gen Zs. You know, they've said that Gen Zs are faceless, leaderless, you know. They're sort of amorphous. So I think the 2-3 years to elections are very critical in shaping the narrative. And at some point, they have to pick a direction and pick a candidate. And that means they have to make a decision that they have a leader that they will maybe be propping up in the 2027 election. So let's wait and see.
Okay. And do you think the national government is addressing these issues presented by the Gen Zs effectively as we speak today?
I feel that it's a catch-22 situation for the national government because, like I've said, these are systemic issues. They are issues that stem from right after independence, the way the system was set, the way politics has been done in this country for so long. So, of course, for chips of the old block, it's quite hard to adjust to that. But for young politicians, younger politicians like we have a different style of leadership, you know. I was one of the young politicians in the Kenya Kwanza, or rather UDA party, who voted no for the finance bill because my style of leadership is people-centric. So perhaps maybe the government is, or rather the people in power, still do not really understand what Gen Z are trying to say. And I don't think it's something that can be done on a quick fix, but we've seen the president did not assent to the bill. He dismissed his entire cabinet. So we can say there's communication going on, but I still think there's something that is missing.
And the president dismissed the entire cabinet and brought back some of the people that Kenyans had rejected. What are your thoughts on that?
I can say that I think the president had an opportunity and a good opportunity to just do away with his entire cabinet and reappoint new people. But we also must ask ourselves, the cabinet secretaries that were re-nominated, are they people who have maybe blemishes from the past? Are they people who are qualified? Because every Kenyan has a right to maybe be appointed as a CS. So we also must not take away from the president's right to nominate cabinet. And we also must remember that Parliament will be vetting. So Parliament also has a duty as representatives of the people. So you say your representatives, rather the people you represent tell you that, you know, X and Y and Z, we don't want them in that cabinet. You're supposed to engage and listen to them. So let us not just have the spotlight on the president. He nominated. Cabinet is going, Parliament is going to be vetting the cabinet nominees and then approve so that the president can now have them sworn in.
When it comes to women and politics, we've seen it grow, yet slowly. Why do you think that's the case?
I think for a long time, because this nation is anchored on patriarchy, it's really challenging for female leaders. And it's quite unfortunate because we've seen the recent conversations. You know, I saw yesterday on social media, like very disappointing sexual innuendos towards one of CS nominees. And, you know, that is stemming from patriarchy. We judge women from their anatomy, but we don't do the same for men. So it's sort of like there's a different set of rules for women and there's a different set of rules for men. And unfortunately, it is the way patriarchy is structured. So that is why it has been so hard for women to rise, because the rules are so hard for the game, for you to even make it to the finishing line. But we have also seen progressive changes, and the seat that I hold today is an affirmative seat and a benefit of the 2010 Constitution. And we must remember why we need women in policy making, because they bring a different perspective and have an influence cascading down to communal benefits.
And as a women representative, a lot of Kenyans do not understand what goes on in that office, and it's a conversation that came up on Space. They were asking, I want you to probably paint a picture for Kenyans what your day is like.
Well, Eric Omondi even said that this seat should be done away with, but my day, mostly, I'm like just any other member of parliament, and I think that is what Kenyans, a lot of them, do not understand, that I can legislate like any other member of parliament, single constituency, and I can also bring any bills on the floor. The only difference is the budget allocation. County MPs or women reps get 9 million per constituency. Majority of the single constituency members get above 150 million. So the budget allocation and what I am able to do, given that I have to deal with women and youth and PWD, is quite mega. So a normal day, I'll go to Parliament and I will maybe request for a statement, have contributions on maybe the statements or the motions or bills that are on the floor of the House. And if I am in mashinani, my normal day is mostly spent with communities at the grassroots level, civic education, engaging them, engaging young women on empowerment, chamas for women at the communal level, talking to the young people and mentoring them, and also making sure that I cascade down the policies, government policies that are being run at the Ministry of Gender.
And when you think of the challenges that young female leaders go through, especially first-time leaders, what are some of the challenges that you've had to encounter along the way?
I've said that people judge women from their anatomy. They just think that you're a woman, you're someone that I'll call to my office, and maybe you're pursuing an agenda for your people, and then someone will be like, oh, let's have coffee, let's have dinner. Then you're like, okay, so are you actually going to do this for my people, So people look at you from the perspective of gender a lot, and especially as a young female leader, like someone who's going to engage in maybe some sort of like relationship, like someone they can just use, or they can be very condescending when you're young. When I first got to Parliament, people were calling me Mrembo, hi Mrembo, and I was like, that is not the brand that brought me to Parliament. I didn't come here because I'm beautiful. I came here because I am an advocate of the High Court. I'm actually qualified. So oftentimes people judge you from your looks or your anatomy. They don't want to like relate to you from maybe your profession. So I really worked so hard to not be rude, but also like build respect with my colleagues. And now a lot of people refer to me as Wakili. So I tell them, no, I'm not Mrembo, I'm Wakili, So it can be very condescending, and it can be really upsetting.
Is there support from the female leaders who have been in the game for quite a while?
It's quite unfortunate. When I got in, I thought there's going to be support from women who've been there. Some of them are as old enough to be my mothers. But I think, and I do sympathize with them, I think there's like cutthroat competition for women in politics. And the older women feel that you're coming in to replace them. There's this new girl, she's young, she's intelligent, she's vibrant, she's all over the place. And they feel as if you're coming to take their place. But then they forget that they have already achieved so much and you are just starting out. So I have not had real actual support from older women in politics, but what I can say is that Martha Karua has reached out to me several times, and she's really, we've had like conversations especially when I had that politically instigated attack in Kirinyaga County. She really supported me emotionally. But we were not from the same party, so I can't really say I have had support from my party, from older women in politics in my party, but Martha Karua has tried.
From your governor?
Oh no. My governor and I don't even get along. We're not even in talking terms. And that's why I've said I really do sympathize with the older women who feel that we're here to take their space. We're here to replace them. You know, we are here to, I think I would want them to view it as a way of passing the baton, you know, because it is very important to learn from mentorship. And it's unfortunate that I have to be mentored by men when there are women in politics who would have really done a good job just holding my hand. But I mean, you have to do what you have to do. So at the end of the day, I don't blame them. I don't feel entitled to their support. I am used to, you know, working my way around. So I really can't complain.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And you know, parliamentarians have actually been accused of not fully representing Kenyans in parliament, their views, their ideas, what they want for this nation. What are your thoughts on that?
There's been conversations around the independence of parliament. But I think our democracy is centered around parties. And it can be a bit stifling because our parties are not centered on ideology. They don't outlast the founders of the parties. An example is in the last regime, the first term of the presidency was done with a different party from the last term of the presidency. You know, if I mention a popular parties, say like ODM, you know, the face of ODM would be Raila Odinga. He exits and we really don't know what ODM would look like beyond him. It's not like in the West where we have Republicans, we have Democrats, parties that outlive the founders. So I think it's also a contribution to the independence of parliament because parties are like vehicles here. And unfortunately, Kenyans mostly vote along party lines. You see, for the last election, a party like UDA has people mostly central region, and you look at a party like ODM, mostly the Lake region, Mombasa zone. So it is very stifling because at the end of the day, you have the party position, you have the loyalty to your people, who are the electorate, and you also have to think about your political survival and interests. So there are quite many competing interests which don't help or rather impede on the independence of parliament. But I think from a personal perspective, we must also as Kenyans take accountability of the leadership and the people that we put in power. If you're going to vote a politician because they gave you 200 or 300 Kenya shillings, I mean, really, you lose the moral authority to question them and to hold them accountable. So there are quite a number of factors at play, and which just weakens the independence of parliament and how members vote on bills and how they represent their agenda.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the projects that you've worked on and you're actually proud of?
Yeah, we have a Tupange Kesho program in Kirinyaga County. We launched as soon as I got in, but official launch was this year in April. Mm-hmm. That program, what I am really proud about is the education scholarship program under Tupange Kesho. I'm very passionate about education, and I've said that we don't really have much to work with as county MPs. So what I do, I figured that the children that even if you give them a bursary allocation of 5,000, they won't be in school. These children, they have no parents, they maybe live with their elderly grandparents, they don't have food. So sometimes you find they still drop out of school. So we have like a care program for them under Tupange Kesho, where it's like a full mentorship. We give full scholarship to the students. So we cater for their fees. We cater for their extra needs. We go above and beyond. If they need uniform, shoes, and maybe any other support. We also sometimes provide food for some of the children. And we have like ground support, like someone who monitors their performance. We have quarterly meetings with them. We have their files. So if a student, say, drops from a C+ to a D, then we get concerned and we have like a counselor coming on board to talk to them, see what's up with them. So we give them like all-round support, and that is the program that I'm so proud about. Besides also the Women Economic Empowerment Program, where we are working with chamas at the grassroots level. They have maybe engaged in goat rearing, table banking. So we fund them. We give like a grant funding to enable them focus on their work. We also have a dormitory that we are doing for special needs children. It's like going to be a fully equipped facility for the kids. And they've been sleeping in a classroom, and they're special needs, so really they need that care and attention. So those are some of the things that I'm really proud about, among many other things that we're doing.
And Kamala Harris is on the ballot to become the first president in the United States, an inspiration to many girls around the world, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm very proud of Kamala Harris, and she's such an inspiration to all of us, Growing up, I used to look up to the likes of Benazir Bhutto in Pakistan, and Pakistan is one of the countries that are very patriarchal in nature, and just to see her as Prime Minister, Golda Meir, it was just such joy to just watch women and just exuding grace and power and confidence. And I can say that we are really hopeful that Kamala is going to really, first, of course, get majority support from Democrats, get nominated, and then also take on Donald Trump and win as the first female president of the US. I remember when Hillary was on the ballot, the entire night, because of the time differences, I didn't sleep. And I couldn't believe when she lost. Like, I was so depressed for a week. I was like, no way. Like, there's no way that Hillary lost. But I can say that also for Clinton to just step back and want to shine the spotlight on Kamala Harris. And, and that is what Kenyan women must learn, right? And also even politicians in Africa in general. They need to learn that power is transient. Today you're in power, tomorrow you're not. And it's okay to support someone else. I do not have to be the first female president of Kenya. But imagine just being there to support someone to be the first female president of Kenya is something that would be such a joy for me. So I think women also in Kenya and in Africa in politics, they need to take a leaf from the support that women in the developed nations give to each other, because a win for any woman is a win for all women.
And the conversation today is, how do we move forward as a country? What message do you have for the Gen Z as we finish the interview?
What I can say is that the Zoomers must also know that we have a constitution in place and we have democratic mechanisms. And we cannot do this and destabilize government or cripple the economy of this nation. To what expense? They must know, what do they really want? And if the answer is not anarchy, and I repeat, if the answer is not anarchy, then let us ensure that we register as voters, we turn out to vote in 2027 so that we can have a government in place that we are fully accountable and that we can take responsibility for. Because at the end of the day, we do not want to see Kenya spiral into, our neighbors like Somalia, South Sudan. People have not really seen the full extent of war and civil unrest. And if you've seen it, you really would never wish it for a country that you love and a country that you want to see grow.